All right,
Oh
everybody,
God.
welcome back. Fingering the Pulse with Obscure Reference. I'm John. He's John. Other guy's also John. It's weird that we all have the same name, but at least we have the best name.
Well, my name's actually Patrick. I weird that, my middle name is actually John.
It's
Um,
weird because my middle name's actually Patrick.
yeah, we planned that actually.
Yeah,
And,
at birth, we were just like, wait, time out, hold up.
high-fiving each other in the womb. We got
It's
this.
weird
Life
because like
job.
we weren't even in the same womb. Our mothers had to like they were just magnetically drawn towards each other.
The weirdest part about that is we were born in completely different states too.
Yeah, no, it was like it was in the news. I'm pretty sure.
Hmm.
You were getting metaphysical even before you hopped out of the womb. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Dude, I was
Oh yeah.
medical physical always. Like I was gonna say I was born metaphysical, but that's what we're talking about.
Yeah. No, we got. Yeah, we were. Yeah. Oh yeah. Metaphysical with each other from the beginning.
Honestly, we were made to be brothers.
Hmm.
So,
And a metaphysical.
in more relevant and real news, we're gonna be talking about the D&D movie today. Let me just go ahead and flop that on screen there. So, I don't know about you guys. I liked this movie. I liked this movie a lot. I went in
Me too.
expecting a 3 out of
Wow.
10 at best, and I think I only like it so much because they beat that 3 out of 10. Like my expectations were so low, they blew it out of the water for me. Um, don't get me wrong, not all the jokes landed. I wasn't like, oh my god, this is the greatest plot ever. But they left enough plot where it warrants a sequel without just like, let's do another one. The characters were enjoyable enough, the acting was decent, and they really stayed true to the D&D game. Overall, I'm super impressed. Austin, I'm excited to hear what you have to counter that with.
I'll let Patrick go first since he seems to be about on the same wavelength as you, and I'll go last.
Mm. Okay. So surface level thoughts. I also liked it quite a bit. I think, and I don't know. I think the overall sentiment around this movie seems to be generally positive, but like I'm probably a little harder on it than that. I think, going into this movie, I knew the kind of humor that was going to be prevalent throughout it, and I, just kind of, accepted it. And maybe that, I went in with a little bit of a chip on my shoulders, so I didn't really react to a lot of the jokes that they were making. Not a lot of them really hit, but the ones that did genuinely like tickled me, and I
Right.
chuckled for like a good solid 2 seconds. Like, not the funniest thing I've ever heard, but like still genuinely pretty funny. But I think what really sold me on this movie was the performances from like the main, like Chris Pine, Gina Rodriguez, Hugh Grant. Like they all were fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Even Justice Smith, who, I don't think too. He was okay in Detective Pikachu. He was a lot better here. But I
Oh, but
also
wait, is
just
that the
really
guy from
love.
Detective Pikachu?
Yeah,
Oh my god,
thanks
I
for
didn't know
interrupting.
that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Um, no, I was gonna connect the dots to Ant Man, but we don't need to do that right now. Um,
Don't even blow my mind that hard. I've already been blown enough for one
no,
night.
no, you're good. I'll leave it at that. But what I really loved about this movie was like you have a bunch of characters in the D&D world, based on an actual campaign, and none of them are like murder hobos. They're all relatively clever, and they use their brains to get out of like tight spots in really creative ways, and I loved that. Like we can get into specifics about that
Yeah, no,
later, but
let's just general
um,
thoughts because I want to jump back into that.
and my last thing before I move on, well, actually, a couple more things. I think and again, we can dive into this a little bit more later, but I thought that the movie was building up to something a little bit more towards the end, and then it just kind of was like, oh wait, no, that was all we're gonna do here, and I'm like,
Yep,
okay,
no,
that's
that
fine.
was a little.
Um, And then final point I want to make is what really sold this movie was like it felt like all the action, the choreography was fucking phenomenal. Like this felt not quite the level of a John Wick movie, but like every fight scene I was like mind blown almost with what they were doing with some of that action. It was really good.
Okay, let's let Austin bring down the mood and be a big old party pooper.
Okay, I went into this movie thinking it was going to be completely forgettable, and I think that's what it ended up being. Uh, the first two-thirds of this movie, I think, are fairly poor. I think it's got straightforward writing with no subtlety. I think that it was pretty unfunny. And the CGI seemed at some points to be really good and then other points really bad. And I couldn't tell why that was. It seemed to go in and out just depending on the scene. I think the one kind of thing that made it enjoyable through the first two acts was that it was decent action. I don't think it was anything incredible. There was times when like the I'm not gonna get into specific, but there's times when it felt overly shaky cam in a way that just was kind of annoying to me. But generally speaking, I thought the action was good, and it was for the first two-thirds of the movie, the only part that I really uh, found particularly interesting. And then suddenly, for whatever reason, after they had their little campfire meeting, it's like the movie changed and all of a sudden got more interesting. They went in different and came with different angles that weren't the just like straightforward, like unsubtle script that it was the first two-thirds. And I thought that the action got even better. And so it finished strong, which it couldn't overcome the problems that it created in the beginning, but it finished strong, and I would say that I mostly, won't think about it ever again, but I didn't hate watching it. It was mildly enjoyable.
So, okay, so one thing I really did love about this movie, and I guarantee someone out there saw this movie and threw a big fit because you have the female barbarian and she's strong and women can't be strong and it's just girls being strong in movies now. But they completely missed the point because anyone can play D&D, anyone can be a barbarian, and you have a strength stat. But you know what she doesn't have? A lot of intelligence, wisdom, charisma. Like she's got strength, she's got dexterity, like and then I don't know any of their fucking names. I forget them all. But you get the main bard guy, not very strong, but plenty charismatic and intelligent. Like they've all got their stats that they actually use. The paladin guy, who had like no charisma whatsoever, but was very strong and wise. Like the characters were balanced. There was nobody who was just overpowered in every aspect. Really like that they stuck true to that. And you're not wrong that the first two acts were kind of like straightforward and bland. But I mean, have you played a D&D campaign? A lot of the times, especially if it's your first campaign, it's just there's a bad guy at the end of the dungeon. You go into that big dungeon eventually and you kill him hard. I think the character backstories were interesting enough. Uh, One of my favorite parts of the movie is the dragon in the dungeon. Surprise. But I love that they
I
brought a
hated that.
no. Wait, they brought a dragon into the movie, okay? But it's not the world's most fearsome dragon. It's a pretty unintimidating dragon as far as dragons go, but it still poses an immediate threat to the cast. So we get our dragon, we get an action scene, and of course, like, it's a fucking dragon and you weren't prepared for this. You're not fighting, you're running like hell, which is what you do in the campaign. So they're running, they're using their wits and like how you would play the game of, oh, we can portal up there real quick and now we're in here and we have to solve this puzzle. Loved them fighting the dragon, introduces dragons, but definitely leaves room for improvement on the dragon. So next movie, when they bring out a big, more impressive dragon, it still feels cool. Like, yes, there's a dragon. It doesn't feel like, oh, I already knew there's dragons. They're gonna one up it by making it not a fat, lazy dragon. They introduced it but left it so it can be introduced again and still have that amazing effect. You aren't wrong that the CGI kind of came and went in terms of goodness. I didn't mind that too much. I felt like at least the style they went with fit the universe they were in. And then to
That
quick
was
touch on the
solid.
end, Patrick, you're not wrong. You're like the end's kind of come and everyone's gonna be zombies, and then nobody's zombies, and we're just not gonna do that anymore. Except the
Well, I
one room
wasn't
of
even clear.
people. Except the one room of people that was zombies, and we're not gonna talk about that. That's okay.
Mhm.
That
Yeah,
kind of bugged me the whole time. I was like, isn't there like 30 of
Yeah,
those
you just
guys in
said it
that
to
room
me.
though?
I see. And what bugs me the most about it is that it looked like, she was talking to a shadowy figure like midway through
Yes.
the movie. And I thought, oh, we're building up to that. He's gonna show up at the end, and then, well, okay, we'll just save him for the next movie, and that's
No, exactly. I
fine.
saw him and I was like,
But
boom, that's a next movie guy. That's someone who doesn't get defeated but leaves the door open so we can do another one of these movies. So when we
yeah,
come to a second movie, it's not just like, well, it worked before, we'll just do it again. There's obviously, even if it's not all thought out, some
mhm,
more overarching story taking place. You know,
yeah,
it's not
and
just a
like,
one and done, one and done, one and done. It's all going to be connected. I'm a fan.
mhm,
Like this really felt
yeah,
like I was watching someone play Dungeons and Dragons.
and I kind of wish because like I've listened to some Dungeons and Dragons podcasts, like I've listened to the Adventure Zone. I thought about getting into Critical Role, and like part of the charm of those is like these are actual players playing the game, and the story is heavily influenced by their roles and like their
Right.
bad roles choices. And I didn't necessarily get that vibe from this movie, which I was kind of disappointed by, but at the same time, it's like every monster, every spell, everything these people are doing is straight up from Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, no, they
And like,
stayed true to the canon, but also, I mean, how do you make like a campaign where the characters are that intertwined and their actions like you can't have the dungeon master character, you know, just pulling the strings to
mhm.
make them all otherwise it's too coincidental, you know? You get what I'm saying?
I've seen it work. I've seen it work. Go
I
listen to the
definitely
Adventure Zone.
I'm not saying it's impossible cuz like god, what's that one I used to watch? Oh my god, what's the one with Dan Harmon?
Armin Quest.
Harmon Quest, fucking duh. Like Harmon Quest is all about the characters, and they everything they do is exactly what the story's about. So it can work. I just don't know if it could work as a movie.
Mhm. Yeah, and I thought, in a different world, I could see them doing another one of these kinds of movies, but kind of make it a little bit more meta, like the Lego Movie, where it's like you don't just do a movie set in the world of Dungeons and Dragons, but you kind of do a movie about playing Dungeons and Dragons, that experience. But like, also, that's I don't know how they pull that off, so that's what
Yeah,
we
I don't
got
know.
was just
If at
fine.
the end of this movie the camera like panned out to reveal it was actually like six friends sitting around a table, I don't know how I
No,
would have felt about that.
it's got to be baked in like it was in the Lego Movie
But I think
from the
all in
beginning.
all, it
Right?
wasn't amazing. It wasn't mind blowing, but it was a lot more charming. I really thought it was going to be goofy, stupid, like, let's make a joke about rolling a d20. That's a thing people do. But no, they respected the canon. They brought in the spells and the animals. Like the characters, again, their stats reflected their personalities. Every character has a backstory, which I really enjoyed. All in all, I was impressed, and I'm looking forward to the next one.
I will say
I
too. Oh, you go ahead, Austin.
I really don't think they need to make another one. But my bigger problem ends up being that the depending on how you want to classify it, two or three sets of villains were fairly uninteresting. Like I thought Hugh Grant, his I don't think it was Hugh Grant. He was playing the character that they wrote for him,
No,
but
it
I
was
thought
his
that the
name in the
character
universe was Hugh
was
Grant.
like I thought that the character was just like obvious smarmy bad guy. Like he didn't have anything to him other than he was a con man and so he did con man things. And then the uh I don't even know what her name was. Who was the red wizard
It's like
lady?
Your mom.
Zenfina, Zofina, something that started with like Sophia, but with an N in it or something.
We knew nothing about her other than she was part of the original time they tried to make zombies. It didn't work. And then now she is the next time they're trying to make
Oh
zombies.
my god! If only there was like a sequel where they could explain more of that.
See, and I
I don't but they that doesn't make the character good in this movie.
nope.
Okay, okay, but look, Fellowship of the Rings, Boromir dies. It's not until Return of the King that we really get. I guess we get some of it in Two Towers, but where we really get his backstory and realize, oh, he wasn't just an asshole. There was more to him. We could absolutely
But
get
like
more of her in flashback or something.
that
But
doesn't.
also,
I
she
mean,
How
doesn't
does
need to
that
be
make her a
interesting.
better
It's the
villain?
shadow figure behind her who I care about. She was just
Except he doesn't show
villain.
up.
But
no.
that's what the sequel's for.
Yeah, but that doesn't make this movie good.
No,
This is my point. Like the characters are still bad in this movie.
I think they're serviceable, but I do agree with Austin that like we shouldn't rely on sequels to make the first one better. That's not how that works.
No. But
Like
have you played a D&D campaign?
John, I don't
Because
care. Like
a good
honestly, it
chunk of the
doesn't. I
time,
want
the
less D and
villains
D in
are
this
just
movie
villains, so the
because
heroes
this
have
is a
something to
movie. It's
fight.
not a video game or a board game. This
It's
is a
not a video
movie. It
game.
needs to
Well, it
act like a
actually it is. It's
movie.
a very bad video
it
game.
is. There's plenty of video games of
Uh,
it.
it's not just a movie. It's a movie based on this, and they stayed true to the game. You know, they didn't just try
So
and one up it
it
and play
so
it
they
in
took
this
the horror
universe.
aspect of it and then put it on the movie, and then that made the movie poorer.
I don't think it made the movie poorer. I think as a D&D fan, it made the movie feel more like the game. Like I don't
I
care
think
about the backstory of the person I'm about to stab. I'm gonna stab them because I want the gold at the end of the quest.
I don't think you're playing with the right dungeon master because they can make good villains. That's
I
not
have.
unheard of.
I'll
And
be
like
honest.
But
Any
this
DM
is
I've played with, no offense to any of them, none of them have been spectacular. They do a great job making a fun campaign, but it's typically two-dimensional villains and then a three-dimensional boss.
But
right,
these are the exact reasons why people have problems when you turn video games into movies. Is in a video game, you are interacting with the story yourself. So there's far more to it. And then when you bring that to a screen and you try and remake what is the video game, you lose the interactive part and it makes the base level story much more bland because you're not actually a part of it and there aren't nearly as many details. And that's partially what is happening here
But see,
is you're taking out the interactive part and you still have characters that are one dimensional.
oh,
I,
I
I don't
disagree.
necessarily feel
Hard
that. Like,
disagree.
you're not wrong that the villains don't have a lot of depth to them. But where I really got my enjoyment out of this was it wasn't just, this is Dungeons and Dragons. Everybody gets a sword and we're going to go bash some guys. Like, just about every situation they got into had to be solved by solving a puzzle. You know, how do we get across the bridge, escape the dragons? Those brain monsters, just like stand still and don't think, avoid the fight. It was all about puzzle solving and still felt like you were watching the game being played. The end where they all had to fight the one red witch. Like, of course, because in the game, it takes all five of you fighting the boss at the end of the dungeon. I loved how much it felt like I was watching the game being played. It didn't take me
But
out that the villains were two dimensional.
and and I think what makes up for it is I think when I read a good story, I like for the villain to be like like if I'm watching, for example, if I'm watching, it's a good example. Um, I can't think of a good example right now, but where the villain represents something that the hero needs to overcome. I like
Puss
that a
in Boots:
lot.
Last Wish.
I haven't seen it,
Oh my
but
god, you're gonna love it.
Every Batman villain of all time.
well, I was thinking more along the lines. Well, I let's see. Like you look at, if you allow me to indulge, in Naruto when he fights Gaara, it's like, well, this could have been him in a different timeline, and so he's what looking at this guy who's obscenely strong. He's like, well, wait, is there something to this? And then he overcomes that and shows him like, hey, it's okay, you can open up to other people. Whereas in this movie, I think the well, we do have Hugh Grant and Nameless Bald Red Wizard, which as a concept's fucking cool, but um the main conflict is with them, but every most of the main cast has something personal that they're dealing with. I think the only exception to that is Sophia Lillis, who really didn't get much to do other than cool owlbear shit, which was
She showed
cool.
up for like she had like a 20-minute span where it was like about
Mhm.
her, and then she was just kind of there
She didn't really
until
have
like the
much to
puzzle
do.
part at the
I'm
end,
pretty sure
and
they
then
Yeah,
just
it was
brought her in to
their
be the
fault.
druid.
pretty much. But like you look at Chris Pine's character who's coming to terms with, well, why did I really try to get that Tome of Revival or whatever it was called? And you have Gina Rodriguez getting
Mm-hmm.
over her relationship with Bradley Cooper and coming to a mutual decision, and you don't see that often in a movie like this.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Justice Smith who, trying to believe in himself, and there's more to it than that. There's a little bit more nuance to it, I think, but it's like and then you kind of get the culmination of all of that when, like, they they've kind of moved past their inner demons and conflicts. They're like, okay, well, shit, we have what we came for, but now we got to go back and save everyone. Let's go
Hmm.
beat up a red wizard. And you get that awesome scene where it's like all four of them versus her, and it's like my favorite shot in the movie because I just love shit like that where it's like everybody against one, and they're like a perfect team, and it fucking gets me hyped. But I love that
Another
shit.
thing I really loved is when like the heist comes together and she tunnels into the treasure room and they like open the door to the treasure room. And I've been there in campaigns where like you do the thing and then the treasure's not there and it's like, wait, what the hell's going on? And suddenly you're in a trap. Like I
Mhm.
was jumping out of my seat because I was like, I've been there. That's happened to me.
And all the portal shit was fucking awesome. Like especially when we got to the reverse heist where they're planting it inside the cart. I'm like, this is so cool.
I fucking the entire time that was happening, I was like, okay, we're doing this. Then the portal goes face down, and I was
Hmm.
like, okay, so why'd we do that? That was a waste of time. And even while she's going into the portal and they're opening the door, I'm like, so why'd we have to go in two ways? I did not at
Yeah.
any point predict it was a trap.
It was one
Ah,
of those things where like she got through and I'm like, well, they already got to the vault. Is this just
yep.
a way for them to meet up? And then they're like completely different places. I'm like, this fucking movie, man. Okay.
That's the sign of a good DM is like when you think you're about to enter the same room and suddenly, oh,
Here we
all in
go. Yeah.
all, it felt like playing a campaign to me, except just watching it being played. Really enjoyed the characters, except God, I can't think of her name. The little kid. She maybe
Oh,
it
the
acted a
daughter.
little hard. Yeah,
I wasn't the biggest fan either, and it's like I just chalked up to her being a kid.
yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's because she's a kid. Saving grace. She didn't have much to do. She wasn't in a lot of it, so it's not like it was
Mhm.
overbearing.
There
But
was that part where we thought she was the daughter, and it turned out to be the witch, and
yeah,
she started fake laughing. I'm like, that didn't play well. That
no,
didn't
that
play
just
well.
it felt like fake laughing. Not even ha, I've tricked you laughing. It felt
Hmm.
fake.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, it wasn't abysmal. It was just noticeably the weakest performance.
Yeah. No, of course. Yeah. She was still fine, serviceable.
Exactly. All in all, I'd see it again. I'm looking forward to the sequel.
I'd give it low 4 out of 5, borderline. Well, no, 4 out of 5 is probably where I'm gonna stay. I liked it a lot.
4 out of 5
Probably would
is
see it again.
is liked it a lot.
Yeah,
I'll give it a 7.
out of 5.
Oh, fucking 4 out of 5. I'm thinking 4.25 out of 10.
I thought you said 4 or 5. That's what I
Oh,
thought you said.
Okay,
no, four out
so
of
you
five.
so you're like an 8 out of 10.
Well,
That's
at
that's the
best,
conversion.
that's the conversion. I see. For me, I view it as a range where like 4 out of 5 could be anywhere from like a 61 to an 80, and then
Okay.
5 out of 5 would be like what 81 to 100, but nothing's 100 because nothing's perfect. It's just a general range where it's like this movie was really good, whereas a 5 out of 5 would be that was fantastic. No notes.
Wrong. The Room is perfect. 2001: A Space Odyssey is perfect. Fellowship of the Ring is perfect. It's just three right there. Oh,
No,
hi,
because
Bad
Mark.
joke.
because
Bad
you see,
joke.
you want to know something though?
No,
Lord of the Rings, not that good.
Whoa! Also, just to get away from that quickly,
you
the very
you said
beginning
that on
part with
purpose.
Chris Pine in the prison was awful, and
Uh,
I hated it so much. The
that joke went on too long.
retelling of his backstory, like as the intro to the movie, is such a poor trope, and it was not played off like as a joke. It was played straight, and it was not good.
Mhm.
Now, what
No,
I
he
did
broke the
like about
story
that,
a few
go,
times.
go ahead,
He broke the story a few times to be like, oh, is he coming? And is Jonathan coming? And I didn't love that,
Jonathan.
but I do think that the payoff at the end of the movie when it's Hugh Grant trying to do the same thing was worth it.
See, I
Yep.
don't.
But
Okay, but tell me what are they trying to show with that? Is it Chris Pine learned everything from Hugh Grant, or Hugh Grant learned everything from Chris Pine?
well, I don't think you need to look into it that deep. Like
No,
the
what
red
I
walls
got
were
out of
at
that
counter.
joke. So they're waiting in the opening scene. They're waiting for Councilman Jonathan. We're told Jonathan's on the committee. He's our ticket out of here. It's very much leading you to believe Jonathan's a friend of theirs. He'll get them off the hook. So I definitely read that as Jonathan's going to be the third party member, and he's going to get them off the hook, and they're going to get out of here. Jonathan shows up. Plot twist: it's not anyone relevant at all. It just happens to be some guy, and now we're jumping out the window. Like I loved the subversion of, oh, he's not a party guy. It's literally we're just going to he's getting us out of here. Like
Yeah,
it
no, I
wasn't
appreciate
so
that.
much that it was anything beyond did he learn it from the con man, did the con man learn it from him. It was just that they needed to puzzle solve to get out of here, and it's subverting the audience's expectations,
Hmm.
which is what the game is all about, is just creative solutions, because you can't punch your way out of everything.
Yeah, I don't know that I expected that to be what it was, and I just thought it was a poor way of quickly explaining the backstory to where they were getting
No,
so
I
Yeah,
that they could
loved the
start the actual
subversion,
movie.
and I loved the double subversion of, but we pardoned you. Like, you didn't need to jump out the window, you talked your way out of it.
that
I,
bugged me because they
Me
ran to
too.
the guards later and they're like, "Well, we could have avoided that if they hadn't pulled what they did." So just a little thing, like it
It's
didn't
also
ruin the
just the
movie.
obvious joke at the end of that scene.
oh yeah, no,
It's
don't get me wrong.
it
That
is.
one wasn't so much like genius writing, but it's the obvious joke. But I still think that's one of the times I definitely laughed.
No, I didn't.
That like the whole bringing the dead to life. I definitely jumped in my
Yes,
seat a
I
little the
hated
first.
that.
thank
The
you, thank you.
no, don't get me wrong. It ran on for too long, but when the first guy jumps up and
The
there's like the
first
three
guy,
second pause, I
yeah,
was like, ah, shit. I wasn't expecting that. Definitely called the end credit scene. That's all I'm gonna say about that. Don't want to spoil it, but definitely called that from the get go.
that didn't play for
We're
me.
talking about the ending of the movie. How are you? We've already passed the point of spoilers.
Yeah,
Well, the end credit scene, something special. Generally speaking,
no,
not in this movie specifically.
no.
Okay, fine.
The It was not good.
I'm
It
not.
was a continuation of a bad joke.
Yeah, no, I'll
I didn't
say
think it
that. I
was.
definitely, as soon as they
I think
walked
it
away, I
was.
was like, that's coming back later.
Yeah,
I also just like the whole scene with the dead bodies would have been better if they didn't have a cutout specifically for marketing that is the very first like person that they talk to where he fucks it up and is like asking the joke or asking the questions to his party members and then it causes them to use all of his jokes. They literally cut that out and that in and of itself was an ad for the movie which ruins the joke going in.
Oh, I
I
didn't
didn't
see
see
that,
that.
I'll be honest. But yeah, that would
So
definitely ruin it.
that
Yeah,
that would
no,
have
I hate
made
that.
what is like the length of what I want that to be is that first one where they mess it up. That's somewhat funny. Then they just do it and then they're done.
Mhm.
Rather than like I have to talk to 10 to 15 people
But
and
again,
Yeah,
not
like,
just like
that's
supercut it.
part of playing the game is, just because you talk to one dead guy doesn't mean he has the answer, but he might know someone
I'm
who knows something, yada, yada,
you
yada.
only have so many spell
I'm
slots, you know.
I'm more than happy to have them do that. I just don't want to watch them do it on screen. That's all.
Yeah,
They
we could
definitely
cut
could have
some of it out.
sped the scene up or cut the scene down. But again, the first guy they woke up where they waste all their questions, that's not happened to me. I have seen that happen though. Where like,
Uh,
wait, does that count as a question? Yes, and you keep like asking your friends, but you're asking questions, so they count.
I
And
will say real quick on that bit is like every time they would go into a flashback about where the helm was and the whoever was holding it just died. Just that never got old for me. That was always funny.
I like the one guy who just like slipped and hit his head on the bathtub, and oh no, you came to the wrong one because it's
Actually, I take it
possible you
back.
just
That
go
one
to the
didn't.
wrong grave.
That one didn't work for me. Actually, I
No,
take
I
it back.
loved it because it's
The
like,
whole
aren't you
thing
this
didn't
guy?
work.
Oh no, I'm his brother. I got a kick out of that. All in all, I'm a fan.
Hmm, real
Patrick, you
quick,
have a question?
I was telling Austin this whenever we were. Maybe this was Sunday. Yeah, but there was a point where my stomach was like killing me, so I had to go take a dump. And this
Shouldn't have
happened
had
right
such a big
after
mud pie.
this happened right after the dead people scene. So right when
Okay.
they're gonna go meet Reggae Jean Page, and I come back and they're already in the Underdark because like my stomach was really in pain.
Jesus Christ,
And then
man.
the rest of the movie, my stomach kept cramping. And I don't want to talk about how that part ended, but like there was a considerable amount of pain, and the fact that despite that I still enjoyed this experience, it tells you something.
You missed some
Um,
real like heavy-handed dialogue in that scene.
I got the gist.
As
Like the
much
whole
as,
scene where they go into the underground, like the little cellar thing, with him, where he's having the heart to heart with Chris Pine's character, was incredibly unsubtle on a couple levels. One, because that guy's character, I can't remember his name, is
Paladin
just
guy.
natural. Yeah, the paladin. His character is just naturally that way. Like
Hmm.
he's just straight. But then the writing itself doesn't have much subtlety to it at that point. And so it was literally just like laying out directly in words from the paladin and the druid about like the moral compass and kind of emotional heart of the movie rather than any kind of um like referencing it more subtly rather than just directly saying it.
I didn't come to this movie for subtlety, though. I didn't expect great writing, mind blowing plots. I came for,
But
like,
it would be
serviceable
nice.
to hate watch, and they surprised me with being, decent. They surprised me
Yeah,
with,
I
I
mean,
was
I didn't
actually
expect that
entertained.
either. I didn't expect it either, but that makes the movie worse.
Hmm.
I will say
I
the whole Underdark sequence, my favorite part of the movie. I loved going down there and just
I
solving the
wasn't there.
puzzles, the
it was
dragons.
alright.
I loved it. Like the third act is great. I loved the Underdark. I love the Paladin character. Can't wait to
The
learn
part
more
with the
about
water
him.
was fun.
Yeah, no, I
Oh, with
liked
like
that
where the
callback.
water's rising. Yeah, no, I
Hmm.
Hmm.
loved the having to solve the puzzles because that's what the game's about.
The fat dragon and the like undead come back to life assassins, I didn't find that interesting.
Oh, I liked those guys. They were neat.
I liked them in terms of like, oh, they're not just villains you can beat, so it's time to run.
Yeah,
I like the
even
dragons
though
like impending doom and you can't fight it, so it's time to run. Like, because it's just a fight you've wandered into that you don't stand a chance. Get out of here.
I will
Uh,
say too,
mhm.
on the note of the paladin character Reggie Jean Page, I think I'm pronouncing his name correctly, but
I think it's
he
Regigigas.
no, it's not. Uh, it's he was really fun to watch. Not fun to watch. He gave up the vibe that I don't know if you've ever found yourselves in this kind of encounter where your DM puts a self-insert NPC into the campaign and he's more or less overpowered and tells you exactly what to do. That was the exact vibe I got from the paladin character. I'm like, yeah, no, my friend's done this exactly before. He's telling me exactly what to, not exactly, but like
Hmm.
he's more or less guiding us on where we should be going. And also he's pretty strong. So if we get into an encounter with him, he'll be very helpful.
Exactly.
So I appreciate that.
All right, finishing it off. Let's do a top. Let's do a ranking of the jobs that the actors did of the main party members, 1 through 5, or how many was it? Pine. We can include
Oh,
Paladin.
Pine gets a 5. Really, I think he played the bard well.
No, I'm
Charismatic
saying
and
What
or
witty.
like order them,
Oh, like
not
are
order
like
we?
them. Okay, okay.
Yeah, are we talking about like acting, like the actors, or like the characters and how the role they played?
you can define it how you want, but I'm defining it as the actors playing the role that they were given.
Okay.
Bard, paladin, barbarian, wizard, druid, child is 6. She gets a whole other hand. Also, Hugh Grant, like he's up there. His first
Oh,
reintroduction scene in the castle, I was like, this guy's fucking delightful. I did not see the betrayal coming.
no, I absolutely did.
I
As
I
I
mean,
did
saw
too.
the
it's
trailers,
not the
it,
biggest plot twist in the world. Like, maybe it's obvious in hindsight, but I was just like, oh man, I can't wait to see more of him.
I will say when we first are reintroduced to him and he like I forget exactly what it was, but there was something in my head where it's like, man, if he had done that movement one more time, that would have been funny just how awkward it was. But
Hmm.
they didn't commit to it. And then immediately after he hugs Gina Rodriguez for just 2 seconds too long, and I'm laughing. Because he's like, he's such a dork, but we should have done that sooner. But anyway,
I hated that character.
I loved he was such a scumbag and I
Okay,
loved
you
him.
guys rank them. What you got?
Patrick, I'll go last.
Um,
Austin's gonna make everybody rank number last.
I
so
didn't
okay,
hate all of them.
Yeah, you did.
so we're talking about the actors playing the movie roles, the movie characters. Yeah, is that how
Yeah,
you're
I
doing
mean,
it?
to a degree, I'm gonna include how the characters are characterized,
Okay,
but there's not really I can do anything. There's not much you can do about that as part of it.
no, right. Um, I'd probably do child last. Um, let's see. I'd probably also put the druid second to last because they just didn't give her anything to do. I
No,
felt bad for her. And let's see. Honestly, I think I liked. No, no, I did like. I'll put Justice Smith right above. He was good as a wizard, but like only so good. And then I guess no, I'll put the paladin below him. Paladin was fine. I like the wizard better. And then we get to Gina Rodriguez, and I mostly put her up towards second place because they
Michelle,
just is it Michelle Rodriguez?
I'm pretty sure it is.
Fuck.
Am I
Uh,
wrong?
uh-oh. Listen, either of us could be wrong.
Well, definitely one of us is wrong.
Oh, it's not
no,
Gina.
no.
It is not Gina.
Have you just
Yeah,
been
it's
calling her
Michelle.
Gina?
Yeah, yeah. I have.
Come
She's
back,
on Jane the
Gina.
Virgin. But anyway, I liked how they kind of just subtly like made you not like feel for her, but like, and I'm not saying I was, but when she died and they were singing the song, they sang like the first
Yeah,
third of
enjoyed
the
that.
movie. It's like I was like, that's a good callback. Wasn't crying, but it was still nice.
Yep,
But
it was enjoyable, but it wasn't heart melting.
right, and I really appreciate her relationship with Chris Pine's character. Again,
Mm-hmm.
I believe his name was. I just really appreciate like right out the gate, they're like, she's like a sister to me, and that's what it was. And so I do
Yeah,
think
I
Chris Pine,
love.
you know,
Yeah.
he was Chris Pine's the heart of the movie. He's just like I don't know, like his I. It was hard for me. I didn't care for him at first, but it's like you know, because I kind of agree with them for a lot of the movie, and it's like no, wait, no, he is being an asshole, but like he's also probably easily one of the most charming performances in the movie, and like even some of the weirder lines, like when they're watching the paladin walk away in a straight line, like he sells that, and it made me chuckle. So he's number one for me, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. So you guys are definitely not gonna like my list.
I
Druid was
can't
the number one, and it's not close, mostly
wait.
because she had the least characterization. However, she played her exact character very well. Then next would be the bad mage, because again, I think he hit the character well, and he had what I would consider to be the most growth in the movie. I don't
Okay.
know that Chris Pine's growth is the best, and it doesn't always feel earned. Um, Next up would be the paladin character. His stick as a character can be kind of like I don't know how to feel about it necessarily, but he plays it well for what
Mm-hmm.
it is. Um, and then it's Chris Pine's character where I don't know I don't know how to feel about his character because in one moment it feels like he's playing the character really well and he's being really charismatic, and then the next moment it feels like really annoying and not funny. And I I don't know where and why certain scenes feel different ways. So he just kind of goes up and down for me. So I'll put him fourth, and then finally I'll put Michelle Rodriguez, who I
Gina
think
Rodriguez.
no, Michelle Rodriguez,
Nah, I'm
where
pretty
I
sure it's
think that she
Gina.
started the movie with some really poorly delivered dialogue. Not that the dialogue was very good, but it was not helped by her portrayal of it. And I thought it got better as it went on and she had more characterization. But I also really didn't love the whole Bradley Cooper love thing. I don't actually think it played that well. And so, although I think her character got better as the movie went on, and she was the best of the action. I think her actual portrayal was the worst of them.
I
Real
don't
quick,
think we'll
real quick.
ever see eye to eye on this. Patrick, one sec. I am just going to point out Patrick and my list pretty similar. We had like one flip flop with the wizard and the paladin. Austin almost had our entire list upside down, like almost verbatim. Just pointing it out. Patrick, go ahead.
One quick note on Michelle Rodriguez character I forgot to bring up.
Gina Rodriguez.
Yes, she her jokes were like some of the more subtle ones that I liked because it was like she would throw a suggestion out there for the party, be like, "Well,
Just
what
use
if she transformed
magic.
into it?" Exactly, and
I
that one
didn't think
didn't.
it was funny.
That one didn't work for me
No, see,
necessarily,
I
but there was
loved
another
that one
one.
because like
Shut up!
people who
Shut, I'm
don't
not
play the
done.
game are
I'm
like,
not
why
done.
don't you
I'm
just
not
use
done.
magic?
I'm not
Because
done.
you can't.
I'm not done. I'm not done. But she would throw out a suggestion, and they'd be like, it'd be one on one, and be like, "No, that's ridiculous." And then when we go to a group setting, she immediately throws it out again. And it's like, oh, okay, that one would. I can't think of a good example right now, but the magic one didn't work for me. That got old quick.
No. I liked her. I liked the simplicity of her dialogue because like she is just the brute forcer. That's what she does. She doesn't have intelligence or charisma. She has strength. But yeah, I don't think Austin and I are ever going to see eye to eye on this one.
I mean, that just sounds one dimensional to me. It doesn't sound like a character.
Sometimes they're one dimensional.
Yeah, but that's poor
That's,
writing.
and I don't think she was,
She's
but
a
that's
main
It's not
character
poor
of the
writing
movie.
if that's what
is.
they're going for to mimic the realism of the game. Like
It is poor
sometimes you
writing
play a
because it's
one
not a
dimensional
complex
just
character.
look, you don't
This is
need to
not a
be
game. It's a
complex
movie.
to be good. Fucking SpongeBob's not complex. Mickey
She's
Mouse ain't
complex.
complex.
SpongeBob is for kids. Mickey Mouse is also for kids.
Dungeons and
And
Dragons is for
both have
adults who
layers.
want to pretend to fight orcs and stuff, man. It doesn't
Hey,
all need to be next level amazing writing. Just enjoy the
I'm not
campaign.
suggesting it does.
so
Like
This is not a campaign.
with that logic, John, why aren't you watching the Fast and Furious movies?
because just because that's what they're going for doesn't mean I'm personally going to enjoy it, but that doesn't mean they're bad for doing it like that. It's just not for me. Like
That's
you
not what he
can't
said
say this
last.
is bad because you can play a simple character in these games. Because if you're playing the barbarian, maybe you don't give a rat's ass about
It's
dialogue
not
or
interesting
charisma,
though.
and you're just here to smash orcs. It's a representation of the character,
No,
and
It's
it's
just
that's
accurate.
not
it's
interesting.
fine.
That's
It's
It
not
fine
doesn't.
if you
interesting.
are
It doesn't
playing
need
the
to be
character, but
interesting
it's
because like
not if you're not playing the character.
Because
It's
it's a
some
the
movie.
story.
somebody played
Because
that
it's a movie.
character in their campaign and was like, "That's great. It's nice to see my character represented in a movie." You know,
No,
somebody was
because
able to
listen,
relate to
here's the
that.
thing. But she's like an actual character, A, and B, like anytime I'm listening to anything Dungeons and Dragons related, if the characters aren't interesting, I'm checking out.
But
It's not.
but sure, maybe you're checking out, but somebody played that character, and to them it's interesting. To them, that's what the game is about: is just brute forcing, being strong, and fighting as many enemies as possible. Sometimes that's all you need to get out of it for enjoyment's sake.
It's not good storytelling though.
She's not the one telling the story. We're following the bard's story. She's just
It's
there.
also her
She's a
story.
character in the
It's
story.
also her story,
It's nowhere near
and
as
she
much
has
hers.
one.
She is definitely his sidekick.
I wouldn't
I
say
do
that.
not agree.
I wouldn't say that at all. That is actually pretty insulting to her character. That is. Mm-mm.
Okay, no, she joins his family. You know, in the prison,
You're not going to convince me
he's
of
the
this.
brains, she's
That's
the
not what
brawn.
happens. That is not. Hold on. That's not what happens in this movie.
It's absolutely what
She
happens.
does not join. She does not
Mm-mm.
join Chris Pine's family.
He had
Chris
her.
Pine joins
He
her.
had himself.
He was
He had his
all-
daughter,
He was
and then
drunk on
she's
the side
there,
of the road.
and then she finds him on the side of the road and is like, "Yeah, 3 now."
No. No.
That's not how it
It,
happened.
no,
Hard
it wasn't
disagree.
like this. It was like this.
I hard disagree.
You can hard disagree as much as you want. That doesn't make you right. You're not
It
me.
doesn't
I'm
make
always
you-
right.
That's-
I'm infallible.
that's incorrect.
Okay? I'm infallible.
Well, infallible doesn't mean you can't get muted.
Okay, I did not expect this discussion to take so I thought we'd be like in and out 5-10 minutes. Yeah, this was either enjoyable or not. I did not expect there to be such differing opinions.
Oh, he was actually talking.
You know
I
what?
can't believe you actually muted him.
Let's play some games.
Patrick, I'm
Let's
not
play
even
some games.
disagreeing with you.
Spicy
Okay,
games.
so this has been Fingering the Pulses discussion on Dungeons and Dragons. Hopefully, you guys agreed with the right argument and not the stupid bad argument.